Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. Today, I think I have someone interested to share with you some part of the way that you may encounter in life. You may not, you never know. So please welcome Nanette Murphy from Life Live Now. She is a divorce coach, health coach. She's an author of Shattered Dreams and New Beginning. She also a founder of the online community called divorceafter40.com, where she helps women divorcing after 20 plus year of marriage. So I know it's not a kind of like sweet things to speak with, but I think it could be a smart way to at least acknowledge this information with you, whether you're going to go through it or not, because you never know what is the future comes. But anyway, we will get fun to this. So thank you so much for joining Get Unstuck Video today, Nanette.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
I'm honored to be here too. Before we get started with your expertise of the divorcing coach, can you at least share with me how you started your expertise or how you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I guess I'll slide back about 10, 12 years when I did, my marriage was breaking down and, ultimately ended in divorce. It was not pleasant. Especially because divorce is never pleasant, but it was later in life, which I found really challenging, 3 children later, almost 25 years married. For me, finding my next purpose didn't come overnight. It really didn't. It was challenging. You kind of, the world is yours, but then you have to figure out what's next. So for me, as we all know, the year 2020 held for all of us. This is when I made the decision to start doing other things other than watching Netflix and eating popcorn and making food. And what was everybody making? Banana bread back then. So I just decided that I'm going to do some online courses, and it started with a Yale University online course called The Science of Wellbeing. And truly from there, it just snowballed. I reached out, I found Michael Beckwith, who was on a platform called Mind Valley. And from Mind Valley, I took classes to be a certified life coach. And then from there, I became a health coach. And honestly, it was like a snowball effect. And I just, I didn't search this out. It just kind of came to me. It really, truly did. Everyone is feeling that 2020 was a horrible happening, and it really was. But I think there was a silver lining for many of us, and we learned a lot about ourselves, and we were able to educate ourselves on other things. And for me, that's what it was. I was able to become a certified life and health coach. And then it evolved into becoming a divorce coach. I became a divorce coach through life experience, through what they call School of Hard Knocks in the US. So slowly I began to niche down and really focus on who I wanted to coach. And from there, it became women like myself, married 20 plus years, probably over 40, 45, and most likely devastated, whether it was their decision or not to divorce. It's still a hard thing to grasp mentally. Go ahead.
Interested. So divorce could be one side decision or together, right?
Absolutely. For me, my personal experience, it was infidelity. And, you try to, after being married 20 plus years, you think, well, I'm not going to stand for that. But you've got 3 children, you have a life, you have I was with my previous husband for, almost 20 years at that point. We were, by the end of it, we'd been together 30 years. So, it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to end it. But when reality, is in front of you and smacks you in the face, then you kind of go, oh, how can we fix this? But the key is you can't fix it if both partners aren't 100% in. Both people aren't 100%, 120% willing to make it work. And again, like I said, it could be either side, it could be a mutual thing, but it's still, I mean, after that many years with someone, it's really hard to let it all go.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine being in a relationship for like 20 plus years. I mean, for me, 4 years already could make me devastated.
Yeah, it's and unfortunately, I don't know about where you're from, but in the US, people getting divorced after 50 is the highest percentage rate of divorce right now.
What? Again? After 50? You mean 50 years of age?
50 years of age. Yeah. So, after 20, 25 years of marriage, that is like we are in the highest percentage of divorce rate right now in the US. Actually, here they call it a gray divorce, because you're kind of going gray and you're getting older, and it's not the most flattering term, but in my research, I did discover that that's actually the term. It's a gray divorce, and unfortunately for women, it's financially, it's the women who suffer most.
Yeah.
So my big focus in my coaching is making sure they're prepared financially, like, just making sure they're taking care of their finances, and also they're taking care of themselves. But that's another, I'm sure that'll be another answer to one of your questions.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Before we get there, let's go back before we divorce. We divorce. No, we not divorcing. We haven't married. What are the signs? I mean, to compare between short-term marriage, should I say short-term marriage? No, like how to say that? Fewer years of marriage versus longer years later on. How it differents, and what are the signs of difference?
Well, unfortunately,
in your opinion,
for me, my experience was, you could I think it's just the fact that people, they grow apart. You spend your life raising your kids. For me, my husband, built a business. I raised the kids. He retired early, but the telltale signs are you're just kind of growing apart, and you can feel it. You can feel that something's not right. And I find that many people tend to ignore those signs. They brush it under the carpet. They just, we're just busy. We're not really connecting. And maybe after the kids are grown up and moved out of the house, maybe it will get better. And sometimes by then it's too late. It's too late. And once again, unless both parties are fully committed to making it work, it's just not going to. It just really isn't. I know I tried for a couple of years, and I write about it and say that 3 people in a marriage doesn't work.
3? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a little crowded. It's a little crowded. So I think that's just, people just kind of tend to brush their differences, brush their lack of communication under the carpet. And then when it's like, oh my gosh, the kids move out and it's just the 2 of them looking at each other going, wow, I haven't been happy for a long time, but they've never addressed it.
Happiness is something that very hard to define. Do you think?
Absolutely. Happiness is different for everyone. But as a couple, you have to work at it. Unfortunately, my ex-husband thought that marriage shouldn't take effort. It should just happen. It should just be natural. It should be no effort needed. And I'm like, wow, talking to a man who built businesses, built companies, built homes, built this, and had a lot, you have to put a lot of work into it, a lot of thought, a lot of energy. But somehow, a relationship should be just easy. It should just unfold. Well, clearly two people should be able to mutually live together if they're meant to be together and be happy, but there's compromise, there's communication. And if you don't have that, well, you either have to work at it or it's just going to fall apart. That's my view on it from my experience.
Yeah, I have seen many people have a different perspective in life, especially different goals.
Yeah.
And they are not working in the parallel anymore. They tend to walk apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And yes, absolutely. And you have to pay attention to that. You have to be respectful of each other's goals, each other's feelings, each other's space. Yeah, it takes some work. It takes your attention.
Do you think that like a marriage contract would help this? Like I'm not sure over I mean contract, it can be anything, but like the agreement between both parties.
I mean, I'm sure some people have that, but I don't know, after being, when you're, I guess in maybe a fantasy world that it would make things perfect, but people change. Your lifestyle may change, just anything. Like someone could get sick and now you thought you were on one path and then, oh goodness, this has happened. And now everything changes and you just have to be willing and able to work together to get through tough times. And again, if both are on the same page, you will get through it. It'll be tough, but you'll get through it. But if you're not both on the same page, you might as well just throw in the towel because your efforts will just be for nothing. If you're like fighting and trying to make it work. And the other one is like, yeah, sort of giving efforts, but not really.
In Thai, we called it, you cannot clap the hands with one side. It's not gonna allow. Yeah.
I love that analogy. Yes, yeah. You need two hands to clap. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, like everything, like you cannot just like do it one side at all. Like you can't.
No.
What about children? I think many people gonna think like that. Like at your time back then that you got divorced, your children, I assume that they already grown up, right?
Yeah, my oldest was in her early 20s. My son was almost, like he was late teen, and then I have a daughter who was at the time around 13, which is a very tender age. I almost feel like the older they are, the more difficult it is because they're so much more aware of what's going on.
That's what I want to ask. How they like, what do you think between like younger age and older age? Yeah.
I think it's just easier to keep things from the little ones that you can kind of package it up a little simpler. Whereas when you have older children, they're not dumb. I mean, I thought I was hiding so much from them. And now years later, I'm like, oh, wow, you heard that, or you knew that, or yeah, they're not dumb. But even little children, they know when mommy and daddy aren't getting along. And they're almost, I've heard, people say that it was actually better for them once the parents were split up because both parents were happier. And the little children, they're aware of that. So many people say they're staying together for the kids. And that's what I did for 2 years. I tried so hard to keep that family unit together. And in the end, unfortunately, it was better off not being together because the tension was so thick, kids are so much smarter than we give them credit for. Way smarter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have been through like some kind of family issue, but then like the tension in the house. I mean, what I believe is that to feel uncomfortable with physically, I mean, that's fine. It's gonna be gone. But like if I feel uncomfortable mentally and also emotionally, that causes a lot of effects in other parts.
Yes,
study,
it affects
health.
every,
Yeah.
your health, your physical health, your mental health. It affects all of it. And I saw that effect on my kids, even as old as they were. And I've talked to other people who their kids are in their 20s and they're, angry because their parents are divorcing, and like it still has an effect on them because now they've got to split their life up. I feel like they have to take sides, but it does, it affects everyone, and it takes a while sometime to heal
Yeah.
from it. And something that I have learned to say often, healing is an active process. You can't just sit there and wait for some sparkly thing,
It's not
magically
gonna go
happen.
away. No,
It won't.
unfortunately.
You've got to dig deep, and you have to actively heal. And once you do, life does get better. It really does.
What I find is that conquer the fear really helps me to overcome things that like I feel it difficult. Like really face it, really believe that this is happening like every time. I so
Mhm.
like so it's so hard to like facing it though, like doing this podcast, like getting out there, or like these fears of not knowing how it's gonna be at the end. But yeah, but I mean, I understand as a children, like right now I'm 29, so I can see like my friends parents going through this like for real. It was
Yeah.
funny because like I'm talking to you right now, but like yeah, just like a couple weeks ago, like just heard this story, and then like it's different because like my friends are at my age, right, and we are like working right now, having business or other stuff, and we have to help the parents going through this, and it's kind of funny to see,
Mhm.
even though we don't want that to happen. But if it's happened, how can we fix this trauma inside? I think
Right.
that's
Well,
hard.
it is hard. Divorce just doesn't happen to two people. It is a
Mm.
ripple effect, and that ripple goes wide. It
Yeah,
really, really,
relative as well. That's
absolutely,
crazy.
absolutely. Oh, well, I think sometimes too, when you see a couple who you think has the perfect life, they've got everything, and then you see that marriage crumble. I think it rattles people because they're like, oh my goodness, if that can happen to them, it can happen to anyone. And yeah, it can happen to anyone. Trust me, I grew up. I mean, I was, met my ex when I was 18, been together forever. That was never on the radar. Many things were on the radar, but not that, you know. So
Mm.
anything can happen. And, I've actually early on felt this, but I was always afraid to say it. And that was, I associated it with like grieving, like a death. And I didn't want to offend anyone who had lost someone through death, but it's truly the same process. It's a grieving process. There's been a death of a marriage and trust and hope, and you have to really find your way of healing and getting through it and surviving it.
I can understand that. Like that's obvious to me though. Like that's really makes sense. Like whoever say other thing, I'm like, they may not yet going through that, so they don't
Right.
know. I think it could be that way. But
Right.
if, for example, like Mr. A and Miss C decided to get divorced, both of them, what, so let's say we are talking to the women side, right? How
Yeah.
we as a women to prepare going through the divorce period, like what are the things in general?
Well, I have been saying this recently that your lawyer, clearly in the US, you need a lawyer. 99% of the people need a lawyer to divorce. Your lawyer is important, but equally, if not more important, I recommend highly especially for women who are older, most likely financially secure. They're older. They're established. You need a financial advisor, and without a doubt, get a financial advisor, because statistics also show that women who divorce, who are, they're financially secure. They've got some money. They don't have to. They're not struggling. Within 5 years, they can be nearly broke because they're not taking care of their finances. They're not being aware that okay, so I was 50 when I divorced. I could have another 40 years. Who knows? Women are living to be over 100. Who knows? I didn't have to get a job. I mean, clearly I can have one if I want one, but I went to my thoughts were, I have to be in control of my money. I have to know that this money is going to last me. And how am I going to do that? And I actually, on my divorce community, we just had a financial advisor who actually is certified she's a certified divorce financial analyst.
Oh.
There's actually now people in the financial industry, you have a divorce lawyer. Well, you have a divorce, like a financial advisor who knows the world of divorce, which I think is fabulous. Because you have to prepare even before you file. Like, most people think about divorce for about a year or two before they actually file. It's not something that you wake up one morning and go, I think we're done today. Let's just, call up a lawyer, draw the papers, and we're done. No, it's a process, of thinking before you get there. So first and foremost, make sure you have financial advice. Know what your expenses are. Know how much money you need each month. And one of the things that I did was I lived below my means for the first year or two. I mean, I wasn't, eating ramen noodles or, rice and beans. And, I was just making sure that I didn't overspend. I was making sure that this is okay. Oh, I have a little bit more left. Okay, so I can spend a little bit more next month. I could, play around with it. So in that transition stage, you have to be aware, but your financial advisor can help you with that. Your financial advisor will want to know all your expenses, and it's not the easiest, most pleasant task, but it needs to be done.
Yeah. So you think usually people don't really have a financial advisor with them? I don't know.
I bet you most people don't. But you can do it at your bank offers these services. And most financial advisors, this is what she's actually a friend of mine who spoke. And they don't say, oh, we're going to charge you so much money every time you talk to us. No, it's usually, a small fee of what you invest or what you make. It's not, they don't charge you. Like, you go and sit down with them. They're like, oh, there's $150 or $400. It's not usually like that. At least it shouldn't be. But much like a lawyer, you need to shop around. You need to ask your friends, who do you suggest? Do you have someone that you like? Have you heard of this person? Coworkers, family, friends, they can always point you in the right direction, at least to someone to talk to, and that you get an idea. And my big thing is, make sure they're respectful of you. Make sure when you're talking to them, they're not talking down to you, that they're speaking to you and being helpful, understanding, not necessarily sympathetic, but, just understanding what you're going through is also such a delicate time in your life. So you want someone who's going to be understanding, for sure.
Yeah, thinking about someone who is already traumatized with the marriage, have to consider all the factors of being that have to be survived after the divorce. First, needs to plan how it's going to be after the divorce, get money on the right path, if the
Mhm.
job, okay, secure the job, if anything that would involve to any difficulties, need to secure that before, and
Yeah.
then get to that line. As well
Mhm.
as getting someone to help who understand how many errands that you have to run around that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's no, what I've been saying in my, promoting my business is like, it's not a journey you have to walk alone.
Mm.
I mean, I wish I did not even know 10 years ago. I'm not sure how long the divorce coaching has been a thing. I didn't know it existed. I had a counselor. I would have had a divorce coach because my counselor helped me with my mental state, my heartbroken state. But a divorce coach would have been like, okay, here's what you need to do. You go
Checklist.
cry in a corner. Go cry in a corner. You do that. Get up and scream. Whatever you need to do. But now we got to get this done. You have to take care of yourself. That's the other aspect of my coaching. Self-care is self-care and financial advisor. Those are like, they walk hand in hand. Those are the two, for me, the two most important, because if you have your mental, physical, spiritual strength to keep you strong to get through all of this, that will help you go through your checklist, talk to your lawyer. And it's just even being prepared. I had a woman in my community that I need to get this off to her this afternoon. What do I even ask my lawyer? I have no idea. So I want to compile a list of questions for her. Like, here's a good start, but yeah, there's just so much to think about. And some days you get up and you're like, I can't think straight to save my life today. It's just a matter of getting out of bed, maybe getting the kids off to school if you do still have children at home. And that's about all I can do today. So I'm really trying to be an advocate for divorce coaching specifically because, I can think through all the things you need to think about so that you don't like, here's your list of things to do. This week, we're going to work on this. Let's get your expenses down before you get to your financial advisor. Again, here are the questions that you want to ask your attorney before you get to see them, so that when you're on the phone with them or you're sitting across the desk from them, you can just pound them out. Because I have an ad that I just put out there. It was like the clock ticking, when you're talking to your divorce attorney.
Oh, because
Like
they gonna do that.
you just hear this,
They
they got
charge
the
by
little,
minute, I know.
yeah. And then you're watching your clock going, oh, 15 minutes. They charge on the half hour. I'm like, meanwhile, you're trying to focus on what you're trying to ask them, and let's face it, we need attorneys, but at the end of the day, you spend a lot of money on divorce attorneys. And I think a majority of it is unnecessary money spent.
That's why. Okay, it's actually not necessary if you prepare yourself for that.
Just be prepared. I mean, clearly you're going to have extended conversations or something's going to go wrong, or the other side, their spouse is going to, put delays in. But man, if you can shave off a few $1,000s, because I don't know about there, but here, thousands of dollars, thousands are
A
spent.
lot. A lot of money.
A lot of money, a lot of money.
I
And,
know.
clearly a lot of it is because one side it might be fighting the divorce and they just want to drag it out to make it more painful for the other side. I mean, there's a lot of factors. There's so many hidden factors and that, you can anticipate, you don't anticipate, but there is nothing wrong with being prepared before the fight. If there is a fight, hopefully there's not, but most of the time there is.
Yeah. So, okay. So attorney, financial advisor, and divorce coach, like these are the main, let's say,
Yeah,
helpers that would
yeah,
keep you on
yeah.
track.
That'll keep you on track. I go through, your account is, I mean, I personally had an accountant. I needed an accountant. Because sometimes when you're divorcing and there's a lot of money involved, you need what they call a forensic accountant, where they really dive into making sure that both sides are being honest, not hiding any money. So that's when a forensic accountant comes in, and that can be costly, but sometimes well worth the money spent, you
Mm,
know.
yeah, I mean, I'm double checking my accountants every single day, so I know the
Well,
numbers.
like
I'm
any
like,
like any business though, we
yeah,
all run a business with an accountant. I think it's a good idea to make sure you have an accountant, because they can also give you, tell you what your tax shelters are. They can give
mm,
you a lot of information that you don't know about.
this one you have
So
money to pay. Yeah, something like that, that we don't know.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So it's a long list of to-dos when you're divorcing, preparing, and going through it.
So like when I watch movies, usually there will be fight for this contract to sign. This
Yeah.
this what we are talking right now is before the signing the divorce contract.
Right. So that would be called a prenuptial agreement, is what they call that in the US. What you sign before the marriage is a prenuptial agreement. And that's signed when someone, one side or the other, has a lot of money already and they want to protect it before the marriage, in case the
But
marriage.
but the divorce contract though.
But the divorce contract, well, when you're signing, yeah, a lot of times people may not want to sign it because whatever is in the contract, one side or the other isn't happy with it, so they want to change
Ah.
something. But here in the US, at least in Michigan, it is it's 50%. When you've been married, if you're married and you choose to divorce, everything's split in half, just half. Like, so but not all states, I don't believe all states are like that.
Hmm.
So I was just advising one of my clients that she wanted to move out of the marital home. Now, in some states, you shouldn't do that
Hmm.
because that could be called abandonment of the home. Well, so, yeah, there's all kinds of things that you need to find out about before you make any rash decisions, as they say. You just want to
Hmm.
be informed. You want to be aware. I mean, it would be horrible if you're divorcing and you're having to live in the same home with the
Hmm.
person that you're going to divorce. But I know of situations where they had to, until they made that decision as to who gets the house, or sometimes one of them will buy out the other person. Until all those decisions are made, they have to actually live together, which
So apart from there are many chaos, there are also many options to move forward as well. Let's look at it that way.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of decisions to make, a lot of things to think about.
And making decision costs the most time consuming in life, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, when you're not feeling yourself, when you're emotionally drained, and you're at the end of your rope, but you still have to make those decisions, and you don't want to make them wrong decisions, because once that divorce paper is signed, there's no going back. You can't make any changes.
Oh, it's like in the movie.
Yeah.
No, but afterwards, though, let's say about your book, Shatter's Dream and New Beginning. I mean, it's also after we speak about this, like going to the divorce preparation until that time that okay, divorce happened.
Mhm.
It's a new beginning, right? But like I think
It is.
people can find it lost. Like they could feel lost at some point.
Oh, they do feel lost. I did feel lost. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's when I go back to, healing is an active process. You have to, you know, sometimes step out of that comfortable box you're in because you feel safe. Um, and, go on new adventures. I'm actually just writing an article and I'm just finishing it up. And that's what I say. It's like join a club, go on a holiday, do something different, because what I'm finding, even as I'm building my business and meeting new people like yourself, I would have not done this 5 years ago. I'm like, what? Talking to a stranger about my life and this and that. But I've also learned that sharing your story can help so many people in unexpected ways. So sorry, I've kind of lost track where I was. I kind of lost track where I was.
Oh no, we are talking about a new beginning
with the book, and but you've got to be adventurous. You have to try something new, because it's meeting those new people, it's trying those new things that could lead you down a path and lead you into doing something that you never expected to do. There's just so many opportunities.
From your experience, do you have to change your purpose or your goal in life?
Oh, yeah, sometimes, for sure. I mean, I did when I
divorce.
Absolutely. I figured my divorce or my life was going to be, sending my kids off to college, and, my husband and I would eventually travel. And yeah, we had opened a restaurant, and you had somebody in your something. So,
you hear that?
I do.
So it's funny. I live in a, how to say that? It's a farmland, and there are many bugs. So I have this thing.
Oh, it zaps. Ah, gotcha.
So I don't know. Yesterday I got frog inside that.
Oh.
It's so funny though, but I'm so scared.
Well, yeah, that would kind of creep you out a little bit.
Yeah, and that one just got chopped is like this big. I don't know what it is.
So long as they're not running around at your feet, that's good.
I think they die. I think it's died. It's already left this world. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. But yes, there's definitely a transition. There's a change of your goals, a change of your purpose. And that's what you have to sit quietly and I learned to meditate. I learned to try to slow down and listen to the world and the messages around me, telling me, and listen to my inner voice and follow my heart, that there's something else, that I will find it. And you can't push through these things. You have to let it just unfold as it's supposed to. You can't reach out and try to be, oh my gosh, let's do this and let's do that. Just breathe and let it all unfold as it should. So one thing I did was I started volunteering at a local charity. I was volunteering at their daycare center. It was a women's shelter that had a daycare center. And yeah, I started going twice a week and rocking babies and changing diapers and, taking care of these little babies whose mothers were alcohol and drug addicted and trying to, find their new life. But they also had these little babies and little children to take care of. So that's what this daycare center did. Yeah, and long story short, I mean, that was 10 years ago, and I'm still not at the daycare center, but I still volunteer. I'm on committees to, fundraisers. And it's just, finding that purpose and realizing it. For me, it made me realize, like, yeah, my life is tough and I'm going through this terrible time, and it's a struggle, but man, it's nothing like what other people are going through. So it kind of puts your own problems into perspective. Not that they're dismissed, but you just put it in a little more, a better perspective, that life could be a lot worse. A lot worse. So yeah, you do have to change your goals, your dreams, your passions, I guess. But I'm saying now, you get to write that next chapter. It's all yours. You get to make the decisions. And that's kind of empowering. It's truly empowering.
It should feel excited.
It's funny you say that, because one of the articles that I wrote, it was for a book. It was called Don't Fear the Future, Let It Excite You. Because it is fearful. You can't take that away from someone. But once they realize that they're going to heal and things will get better, then yeah, the world is at your feet. There's so many opportunities out there. And, as much as people are going, is social media really the best thing? I mean, people are growing businesses, they're making friends, they're connecting with people all over the world. Would you and I ever connected, without social media and podcasts and, like
Too
I
far.
just, yeah, but I just find it fascinates me, the people that I have met and talked to. And one thing I like about traveling, because I love to travel, is realizing and understanding how we are all the same. Doesn't matter. We look differently. We have different cultures. We eat different food. But we are all inside, all the same. Little quirks about us all, but we all want the same thing. We're all looking for happiness and love, whatever that looks like. It doesn't mean you have a partner and you're married, whatever that looks like for you. And the older I get, the more I'm appreciating that. I love that.
Yeah. So in case anyone want your guidance of what they experience, let's say, whether they have decided they're going to go to divorce or
Yeah.
they don't know what to do right now.
Yeah.
Where can
Yeah.
they reach out to you or get to your community then?
Yeah, I have a website. My website is livelifenowwithpurpose.com. And from there you can find my community, which is divorceafter40.com, but they can also go there directly. They can go to the community directly. I have my Facebook page is Live Life Now. There's a private Facebook community called Women Divorcing After 40. Don't fear the future. So but you can find me best on my website, Live Life Now with Purpose. That's kind of where the best platform is. And then my book is on there. I have another one I'm co-author with is Invisible No More, Stepping into the Spotlight, which is a really wonderful story. 17 authors sharing their stories of how you felt silenced and now you've stepped into the spotlight and you've got a voice now. And then I'm actually working on a chapter for another co-author book called Transforming Pain into Purpose, which really spoke to my heart because that's truly what I did. And it's really great to be proud of other people, but it's really awesome to be proud of yourself. So it's a cool feeling. So, as for yourself as well, you're on doing this podcast and I'm sure you were fearful of doing it and you then stepped into it and then you did it, like how great is that? How great is that?
It's been 2 years. It's not just started. It's been 2 years. Yeah. 2 years. Yeah. So
good for you. It's just like, and I love to be a part of women empowering women too.
Thank you so much. So I hope anyone who listening or watching this via YouTube or the podcast can get unstuck from the journey that you feel like not yourself anymore, or you are in a situation of like it's different and you don't want to be like this in your relationship. I hope this episode enlightening you that there are ways to get out of this situation in a better way, to see the new beginning with purpose, that you can still find happiness in life and everything is solvable. So thank you so much for joining Get Unstuck Radio today, Nanette. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you very much. This was such a pleasure.
Hey, thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe here or here. And this is the previous episode. Check it out. See you next time.